George Parr, you were recently appointed Chief Executive of the South Herefordshire NHS Healthcare Trust.
That's right, yes.
To bring the disciplines of the market into the National Health Service.
Very much so, yes.
And so you're in fact responsible for 11 hospitals in your area.
2. There were 11 last week, but we've downsized the operation.
I see.
In the interest of efficiency and slimming down the...
Well, this is what we're going to talk about, isn't it? The discipline of the market.
Yes.
Was this the first thing you did on taking office?
Well, the first thing we did was what our colleagues in private industry do. That the senior executives and myself went away to a large country hotel for the weekend, in fact for a whole week, and brainstormed about our problems. And we took some pretty hard decisions there.
And this was one of them, to downsize the operation?
Well, the first one was to give ourselves very large increases in salary, and then to make a corporate video.
It is a problem, isn't it? Because in the National Health Service, as Mrs. Thatcher noted a long time ago, demand is infinite, isn't it?
Well, Mrs. Bottomley said, and these figures are right, that there is now more demand on the National Health Service than there ever has been, and yet at the same time the nation's health is better than ever. Now this can only indicate one thing.
And what is that?
Well, that patients aren't really ill. I mean, a lot of patients aren't ill.
They're presenting themselves to hospital without illnesses.
Well, yes, I think it's see, the problem is rather like benefits.
Yes.
That people are, if they know they're going to get unemployment benefit, they are being rewarded for being out of work. And so there's no incentive for them to take work.
I understand.
Now, at the same time, if people feel they're going to be rewarded for being ill...
By treatment.
By being treated. Yeah. There's no incentive for them not to be ill.
Yes.
And so we're trying to get this question of incentive into... because that's a market.
So you are going to bring the discipline of the market into the hospital and, if possible, extend it.
We're extending it not just to the broad brush, the fact that that we provide and fund holders purchase from us, but inside the very operation of the hospitals themselves, we are going to operate a market system.
In what sort of way?
Well, I'll give you an example. In the old days, before I took over, if in the operating theatre you would have a body of a patient on the thing, and the surgeon would want to cut him open, and he'd say scalpel.
Yes.
And a nurse would give him a scalpel with no consideration about whether he needed the scalpel, or how much the scalpel cost, or whether he could get a scalpel cheaper somewhere else, whether indeed he could use an old razor blade he'd brought from home, or a paperclip, yes, or even his own teeth if he had any teeth.
So what will happen now?
Well, if he does establish that it is necessary, then immediately he will make a bid for a scalpel. He'll put out a bid. A tender for a scalpel. And he will, first of all, ask round the operating theatre to see if another nurse has got a scalpel cheaper than the nurse who's standing next to him. It's very unlikely because we only have one nurse in the... But then what he will do is to contact our new... This is an appointment I've recently made, the scalpel resource manager, who has been put in a salary of £45,000 a year. And he will, as soon as he hears that a scalpel is needed...
Perhaps,
yes. In operating theatre A... Or, well, it only will be A, we only have one operating theatre. He will immediately go into action and ring round the whole country, send faxes, to see where he can lay his hands on the cheapest possible scalpel. And now, if that happens to be in Barrow-in-Furness, that's where he'll get it from.
He will personally go and get it?
He will get it. Well, we are talking about emergencies here.
Well,
he's not going to be sent by post.
No, he'll jump in the car.
He'll drive up there in his 7 Series BMW, which is what he gets.
With jobs.
Yes, that's
because otherwise people aren't taken seriously, are they, without those sorts of things? Well, that sounds very radical. In fact, one might think that in some way you might be able to get rid of the middlemen in this transaction entirely.
Get rid of the doctors, you mean, and the surgeons? Yes, well, what we are hoping, you see, this is a matter of patient choice.
Yes.
To empower the patients to take their own decisions.
Yes.
And make their own incisions if it should come to that.
The patient would come in.
The patient come in with a growth that he has and says, what are you going to do about this growth? And I would say, what are you going to do about it?
And you would empower him to use the resources
Yes, we would lease an operating theatre.
A mirror.
A mirror and a book on major surgery and how to do it.
Yes, and he'd be able to resource
get on
himself.
With it. He'd be able to resource himself. He would be able to stand on his own 2 feet. Well, perhaps not if he was having an anaesthetic.
No, down there. But at the same time, it must be admitted that in terms of pure management,
yes,
don't the patients get in the way?
Well, no, I wouldn't say they got in the way, but it is, you see, what we are trying to do is create a buzzing, thrusting, entrepreneurial business atmosphere in our new... And it is perfectly true that this is not very easy with a lot of people lying about being sick and groaning. So that it is possible that we would get rid of them, as they have done in ICI.
George Parr, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.